Hey, it's Animal Collector here. In today's video, we're going to take a look at a postcard from my collection. This one showing the drill field at Fort Slocum, New York. And without further ado, we'll go ahead and get started. This one is used. Caption on the back here was never actually mailed, at least not, as a postcard would normally be mailed. Maybe it was slipped into a letter at some point. And we also can see that at some point, somebody sold this for $4. Now, reading the text here, it says, "See the line of buildings. Well, the second building from the right is occupied by me and my boat crew. Today we are playing baseball on this field. This is where the soldiers of Fort Slocum drill, but I didn't drill at all yet, not even 1 minute, because I am a boat crew. And second company will win the game. They always did win. George Perchick." So unfortunately, I couldn't really find anything on Perchick, and I actually kind of had trouble dating the postcard. It looks to be World War I era. However, as we know, World War I era postcards were still being used during World War II, being purchased as souvenirs by these soldiers and sent home. So this could be a World War II era postcard as well, which makes everything a bit more confusing. Now, Fort Slocum itself was built during the Civil War, closed in 1965, and it was completely demolished as of 2008. There's barely anything left there currently. And what's weird, though, is we see that Perchick in his writing there refers to himself as being part of a boat crew, right? And that's very odd because Fort Slocum is an Army training post. Now, there are a few potential things this might be referring to. Admittedly, I was having trouble finding a lot of good information on Fort Slocum. There was apparently an archive at one point, but it looks like the link to it no longer works. So I had to go off of the little bits of snippets I was able to find elsewhere. Now, during World War II, the Atlantic Coast Transportation Officers Training School was based at Fort Slocum. So, given the fact that it's the Atlantic Coast, Transportation Officers School, it would make sense that maybe some boat crews or, captains of boats or things may have been involved in that. But frankly, I couldn't find a ton of information on that program. Now, this was also a coastal artillery defense station, so it's possible there's some Navy personnel there as well. But it's weird that they're stationed there. He's talking about not having to drill yet because he's a boat crew, so clearly he seems to be relatively new to the service. And generally, naval personnel are getting trained for their basic training at the naval station in Great Lakes, Illinois. So that also doesn't seem to really line up. Now, the only other thing I was able to find was that the Army Air Corps took over the base in 1946, shortly after the end of the Second World War. And bomber crews did sometimes refer to their bombers as boats, so it's possible this was an Army Air Corps guy and his crew that were at Fort Slocum for some reason, but I couldn't find anything saying that Fort Slocum was used to train bomber crews during World War II. It doesn't really make a lot of sense. It's on an island. There wasn't an airstrip there as far as I can tell. So, yeah, just a really weird kind of mystery all around, and like I said, I couldn't really find anything on Perchick. I did find a George Perchick who was in the Navy during World War II, but none of the documents I could find tied to him showed that he was at Fort Slocum. So, unfortunately, this is a bit of a mystery. If anybody has any information, I'd be really curious to hear it. But yeah, overall, kind of an interesting piece. I hope you guys all enjoyed the video. Please leave a comment down below. Love hearing from you. Thank you all for watching. Happy collecting, and I'll see you all again very soon.